Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to a spoiler review for SUNREACH by Brando Sanderson. This is book number 2.1 in his Skyward Flight series, and it naturally falls after Starsight. So if you haven't read up to that point in the series, reading SUNREACH will spoil you. So that's why I'm recommending you don't watch this video if you're not up to date, because if you do, then naturally I'm going to spoil you for the first two books. So I have additional content for those first two books. The review for Skyward is spoiler free, the review for Starsight starts out spoiler free and then goes into spoilers, and then I've got a recap of Skyward and Starsight before Cytonic comes out. So with all of those linked down in the description, let's get into a discussion of SUNREACH. So it is in FM's perspective. Her name is Freya Martin and she was part of the crew that trained under Cobb when Spencer first got to the flight school in book one. So FM and Jorgen are the two people from their entire crew that managed to get in to become pilots. Spencer herself dropped out, but now obviously she is flying as well. So FM got through, and from the get-go you get to understand FM as this really well put together, confident character. But in SUNREACH you got to see past that a little bit because we get to read more from her perspective, and I liked that additional content in terms of understanding her as a character. But there are a few things that I liked about SUNREACH and there are a few criticisms I personally had, so I want to get into both. So I might just go through my list. I really enjoyed the world building in this, and that is to be said about Brando Sanderson's writing in general. I know this book is co-authored by Jancy Patterson as well, but I really enjoyed the strengths of Sanderson in here with, like I said, his world building. There were more slugs in this one than in the previous one because at the end of Starsight, Jorgen and a few others encounter slugs underneath detritus, and so now they've brought them to the surface effectively and they're trying to study them. And I like how FM was brought into that circle and she's effectively been made like the slug ambassador. She's the main keeper of them and she's essentially giving them rights and treating them like animals rather than like products or things to be used. And I like that they're approaching this in a different way to the superiority by working with the slugs to communicate with them and to encourage them rather than to scare them into forcing them to travel like the superiority have. So I quite enjoyed that story arc, but in addition to that I had a criticism, and that is Jorgen. I don't think, based on his previous character experience, he is quite abrasive and very procedure driven, but I don't think that he would go to the degree that he went to in SUNREACH. He seemed a little bit out of character to me because he kept squeezing the slugs and being more direct and aggressive than he was in the past. I think it's because maybe this book was co-authored, but I'm honestly not sure. His character could have just gone that way and I personally didn't like it. Let me know what you thought of the characterization in this, because to me, while things seemed understandable, at some points they turned me off a little bit and I kind of questioned them along the way. Another one that I questioned was the romance, and that was with FM and Rog as well. Rig is his call sign, I think. He was in obviously the first two books. He's the engineer. He helped put MBOT together. I like his journey in this and I like his quest for knowledge and the way his confidence started to grow. But the way that the romance developed in this, it felt shoehorned in for the sake of it being YA. It was like it was ticking a box, and the whole reason I picked up Starsight in the first place was because there was not a strong romance subplot despite the fact that it was YA. I like romance in a story, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to a story that characters are trying to survive, and these characters very much are, naturally tension and friendship and relationships are built through that trauma and through that trust. But the way that it developed between FM and Rig, it felt very cliched. And usually Sanderson doesn't go that road, so I think this was the addition of Jancy. To me it just didn't feel like a Sanderson book, whereas I read Lux and I really enjoyed that. Even though it didn't necessarily feel entirely Sanderson, there was still elements to that story that were added that I really enjoyed. But when it came to SUNREACH, didn't enjoy it nearly as much, and so my rating would be a 3.5 stars out of 5. I'm rating it definitely under Skyward and Starsight. This series so far has gone from Skyward and Starsight being a 5 and a 4.5 stars to now SUNREACH being a 3.5, and I'm quite disappointed that this series is going downhill for me, because while those aren't bad ratings, it's still my enjoyment going down with each installment. So I'm really hoping that the next novella and then also Cytonic bring my rating back up again, because that's what I want. Ideally I want to love this series. Back to things I did like. I liked that Kuna was in this one as well, and they are on the outpost SUNREACH, which is ultimately where these characters are trying to go to try and rescue them. And I like the way that Alanik was involved too, because it showed Alanik waking up and then disappearing based on Jorgen's mother's interaction with her. I like that FM is starting to set up this ambassador of different nations to communicate with different cultures and to be like a figurehead for detritus. I like that FM is being set up in that way because that is believable for her character to me. That's something that I quite enjoyed about this. It's like the start of her own story arc, and I think that she might be contacted by Spencer later in the series. If Spencer is off-world and needs to make contact again with detritus, I think FM might be that figurehead, which I find really interesting and cool, the fact that she's being set up that way. But when it comes to the other characters in here, I quite like the addition of Alanik, and I know that we get a novella from her perspective as well. And to me, I felt like she really fell out of the Starsight narrative because she landed and crashed on the planet, and then all of a sudden Spencer was gone. So we didn't get to see much from Alanik, and I'm excited to see more of her culture and her alienness brought to the story. And she very much doesn't trust the superiority, which is going against everything that Spencer has set up. So she is naturally opposed to the superiority, like a lot of the other characters that are also living on detritus. So it'll be interesting to see how she reacts to them trying to form an alliance with Kuna. I like the way that all of these different pieces have been set up, and I'm looking forward to the way that they develop further. I also knew at the end that despite Jorgen's ship being destroyed, that he wasn't dead, because A, he's a Cytonic, and B, I know that there's a novella about him and it hasn't been brought out yet. So naturally it's got a release and he's still got to be alive in the series. So when his ship exploded at the end, it didn't have as much of an impact on me as usually it would have, because in this book, unlike a lot of other Sanderson works, I've predicted a couple of things and I've been disappointed by a few things. And one of them was the kind of plot twist with Jorgen. I didn't really get shell-shocked by it, and so it took some of the wow factor away from the ending for me. But I do like that he managed to talk to FM about the fact that he got in touch with Spencer cytonically, and that we know now it's been confirmed that she's stuck in the nowhere. So I don't know if she's able to get back, because Jorgen said that I don't think she will be able to, but the fact that Jorgen is cytonic and there might be other cytonics on detritus as well, plus the combination of all the experiments on the slugs that can hyperdrive jump, I think she will be able to get back. I'm just not sure how, and I think Spencer might be able to connect with a different race or a different alien force where she is in order to train up her cytonic powers, because that's the knowledge gap that's really missing here. How did everybody get to detritus, and how do cytonics work? Those are the two questions going through the series now that we don't have answers to yet. So essentially what I think of SUNREACH is, I wish it was better. I did enjoy it. The things I liked were different trajectories, different world building things, and a few little moments and scenes between characters. But ultimately I wish that it just hooked me a little bit more. And I think because it had that mixture of Jancy Patterson, not that it was a bad thing, because I like the potential of it, but some things like the romance really just made my rating dive. And so I think ultimately I do like it when Brandon Sanderson collaborates with authors, but I'm also still very picky about when he does it, and I don't think SUNREACH really ticked my boxes. So I do like FM's call sign. I like how that was explained as her liking FM radio, as well as Freya Martin, obviously it's her initials as well. I like that she got to use the music with the slugs. I like that she's now the political ambassador, or being set up that way. I did not like Jorgen's mother. I liked that Jorgen was being set up as this cytonic stuck on detritus who is the key person to communicate with all the slugs. And now that he's been in a ship fight with the superiority, they know that they've got a cytonic, so they're going to go even harder in the next book, I think, based on what they've seen Jorgen do and based on the development of their knowledge of the hyperdrive slugs. I think there is a lot there that's very charged that is going to be developed further. As for my rating though, like I said, I gave it a 3.5 stars. I liked it. I didn't love it. I've got my fingers crossed, and I'm tentatively hoping that I like the next installments in the series more than SUNREACH. That is it for this video though. If you have a rating for SUNREACH, please let me know down below. I would love to discuss spoilers. I'd like to see how your feelings lie with the co-author situation. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you like it in specific circumstances? Like I liked Lux, but I've seen other reviews giving it a 1 star, for example. Let me know. I would love to know. But thank you again so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you down below, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.